You are a person here. You know, you don't have to apologize for being black.
The fact that I was black actually helped me.
Imagine affirmative action with teeth.
There's no glass ceiling here.
Jenean Pretorius is here.
I was here 1 year, and believe it or not, I was sitting down having lunch with Mandela. And I didn't have a pot to piss in or a window to throw it out of then.
There was an enormous opportunity to do something great here, something that would be very difficult to accomplish in the States.
We are developing a huge mixed-use project along the ocean front near Durban at around 500 million rand, which is close to $100 million. Something I would never have thought about doing in the United States. Here, it's a new frontier. The opportunities are almost unlimited.
My motivation to come to South Africa, bro, was initially political, really trying to be a part of the anti-apartheid struggle. So I had an opportunity to come do some work, and I took it. So when we talk about leadership, emotional intelligence, and dynamic customer service, we're talking about you. One of the first things I recognized when I got to South Africa was that there was a big need for the work that I do, which to a large extent focuses on helping people to build their self-esteem and confidence to accomplish whatever it is that they're trying to do in life. Did anything stand out for you, Sipo?
I echoed my sentiments that I felt like I was made a fool.
People of color traditionally, black people, colored people in South Africa have traditionally low self-esteem because of the systems, because of the political systems of the past.
The essence of the work in terms of bridging the gap between black and white South African primarily is really getting people to unpack their past, and that past relates to the apartheid experience. A lot of pain and a lot of anguish has to be dealt with on an emotional level. And in my workshops, people deal with that. So you will often see people literally breaking down in tears, crying as they speak about experiences from the past.
At times I was afraid to talk about it because I'll feel ashamed of myself. And I think it's the right place to talk about it, and hope that after I'll be able to live with it.
This course has helped me to build my self-esteem. So at first coming in here, I was very frightened and I couldn't stand up and talk. But now I've built up and I'm strong enough to say whatever I want to say.
The nature of the training program that I'm doing here is really dealing with the conflict that has arisen between more senior white managers and a majority black staff. Kunjani Sisi.
Konanjani.
Good to see you.
Good to see you too.
All right. Listen, the training, I'm going to step up. Just came to check on the training. I'm going to go upstairs in a minute, but I wanted to just talk to you for a minute about how you feel the training is going.
We've had instances of managers who came in here and, you have to approach them in a certain way, because they come from a different organization where you respect someone because of their position. And we're saying it's not really because of your position, it's how you interact. You actually earn that respect.
If you could imagine managers that are kind of coming from an old school way of managing, if you will, more hierarchical. And if you look at African culture, which is much more participative, there's something called Ubuntu, which is really talking about people working together. The old hierarchical way of managing doesn't really go over well in the new South Africa.
A reality in South Africa is the fact that we come out of cloistered environments, out of silos. And if we don't break down some of the inhibitions that we have and learn to relate to each other, then we cannot sort of realize our full potential.
The South African history, I don't think, is that much different from what the Black African Americans have been through. So he could relate to the issues that we were going through. So for me, it was a benefit having someone like Charles Henderson run the program for us.
My mission in life is to take the things that I have learned in my life and to share that with others in a way that enables them to improve the quality of their lives, both personally and professionally. That's my mission. And when I talk about what I have learned in my life, I'm not just talking about what I learned at Harvard Business School. I'm talking about what I learned on the corner of Lenox Avenue in Harlem when I was shooting dope at the age of 16. So there's a lot of things that I have learned in my experience that enable me to do what I do. And truth be told, a very small part of it was picked up at Harvard Business School. Harlem has a lot of significance in my life because it was here that I got my early education in street life. At the age of 14, 15, I was coming down here with my friends buying drugs, heroin and cocaine. By the time we were 16, we were using it intravenously, being chased by the police, stuck up at gunpoint, stuck up at knife point, incarcerated in the precinct on 135th Street. So yeah, there's a lot of memories, most of them bad. Standing here in front of the 32nd Precinct brings back memories of when getting high was no longer fun. I spent the night here for possession of a stolen car. The defining moment for me to get out to life was when the police came knocking on my mother's door at 3 o'clock in the morning on New Year's Eve with a warrant for my arrest. It was at that point that I got the wake-up call and realized that there was no way out. There's obviously a lot of brothers and sisters who have experienced what I've been through, and they didn't make it the way I made it. And what I would say to the families and to the friends of those individuals who are struggling today with their drug addiction is don't give up on them. My mother never gave up on me. My grandmother never gave up on me. And that was the strength that I needed to overcome my own drug addiction. I stayed because I love it. I love this place, man. I love Africa, and I have really grown to really love South Africa. I love the people, I love the environment, the landscape, the lifestyle, the restaurants, the wine country, and I love the fact that I could do the work that I love and have people benefit from that. That's my reward personally, really. I've been able to make my contribution here. I've done it, bro. If I get on the plane tomorrow morning and that plane don't land, I have already fulfilled my mission, my purpose in life. So I'm cool.
We got some Mark Curry. Who came to see Mark Curry? About to go on stage right now, so I can't get into my own room. James Prevost is here.
What's up, y'all? What's up? I moved here in '95, and at that point, that was 1 year after the new election, once Mandela taken over, and it wasn't anything much funny then. I thought that bringing comedy would help heal negative wounds from the past of apartheid.
At which point, if black people decide to go from here to here,
I wanted to go to Africa because I didn't think Africa was the way it was being portrayed in the United States. So I decided I want to come and investigate. I came on a trade mission with the then mayor of Atlanta, Bill Campbell. I would say, what was it, 94, 95, there wasn't anything nice being shown about Africa at all. They barely even showed an office building or a house. So now you see different images, but the only images we were able to capture back then was the jungle, the zebra, the guy running butt naked with a spear. Those are the things that we only had, but I knew there was more to be found. So I came over, and to my surprise, it was incredible, and then I moved over. Before I got into comedy, I opened up a nightclub. Atlanta nightclub was the first upscale nightclub in the whole country for blacks. Everyone said it wouldn't last. In the last 2 years, and it was a great launch pad for me to get involved with my comedy. What I wanted to do is just basically create a stand-up comedy industry because there was none here.
We in South Africa doing it real major.
Oh, it's so major, it's so real, man, it's unbelievable. Big diamonds in your face.
If I was doing that commercial, imagine it'd be like this. Take shampoo and conditioner into the shower. No, not me. I just wash again, rinse, condition, set, wrap, oil, grease, blow dry, tongue gel, super oil, gel, extra sheen, extra spritz, check in the mirror, bit more lipstick, check in the mirror again, more sheen, more spritz, more gel, more extra gel, more moisturize, more gel, more extra gel, more sheen, more spritz, check in the mirror again, lipstick, check in the mirror again, then go. If it's not raining.
Comedy is exploding. In the last 4 years, particularly the black comedy industry has grown over 2,000%. It's growing faster than we imagined, actually. The first show, we had 1,000 people, and 18 months after that, we had almost 4,000 people come out. And this is people who never knew stand-up comedy, never even been to see, particularly black stand-up comedy. I always want to be the first to do something all the time. It's bad in a way because I can take uncalculated risks by doing so, but it's important for me to be first or to make some type of difference. So with comedy now, comedy it's a new comedy industry that we have developed, and to be in the forefront of creating an entire industry, it's an amazing thing. Your kids can see that you participated in the growth of an industry which is putting money in numerous people's pockets. Our comedians grew from maybe 10 4 years ago to now there's probably over 100 black comedians here, good and bad, but they're making money. Some of them are getting corporate gigs that pay them, nice amount of change.
You do see a lot of holes and niche and opportunities that are here in the country. But for the most part, what I did, just transferred exactly what I was doing in the United States. And I did the same thing here. I didn't try to do anything different or anything spectacular. I was involved in entertainment in the US, and I was in commercial real estate in Atlanta. I was representing a lot of the record labels on commercial real estate in Atlanta because my first love would probably be in properties over entertainment. See that building right there? That building is called Ponte. That building, Nelson Mandela, all your top politicians, anybody who was anybody with any cash had an apartment in that building up to 12, 14 years ago. It was the place to be. Now it's turned into projects. The city of Johannesburg is going through right now is the same that any major city US is going through, where the inner city becomes dilapidated, wore down, and all your main businesses move north, which is exactly what's happened here. All the businesses moved north and they left the city kind of like abandoned. So now the city has decided they want to claim it back and renovate and bring it back to where it was 10, 15 years ago. I believe in this area so much, and which is why I own a property portfolio in this area, because I want to be part of the turnaround and the regentrification of the area, because I have so much belief that it will transform back to the middle class one day. San Diego and Highfield Court are two buildings that I recently purchased. This one here, I just got the letter of approval today on San Diego. The reason being is the loan originator for Highfield Court, they told me that, hey, if we give you the money for this building, you have to buy the one next door, because the one next door, if I go and renovate this one to look very nice, it's not going to help the block because I have one next door to it that is dilapidated. So I made the guy an offer, he accepted it, and now we're going through with the transfer process. This is the apartment when I first got the building. We still did some repairs, but it gives you a rough state of what condition this place was in before we did our renovations. And what I'm going to do is take you downstairs where you can see a completed version after all renovations are done. Okay, here what we have is a completed version of my renovation. Upstairs you saw a raw shell as it was when I bought the building. Now this is the completed version. We stripped the floors, varnished the floors, and we added ceramic tiles in the kitchen and bathroom, which gives it an upmarket appeal for the young professional that we're targeting. Hey, we all grew up in the ghetto. It ain't anything we're scared of, and if I can add a hand to the transformation, then and then it's all for the good. This neighborhood is one of those things that the majority of people in the country don't believe in. I'm betting on black. I'm betting that this is going to turn around and that it'll be a profitable thing in the future for me. In 1996, I was here 1 year, and believe it or not, I was sitting down having lunch with Mandela. And I didn't have a pot to piss in or a window to throw it out of then. But I was sitting down having dialogue with the president of the country. Now, can that happen in the U.S.? Probably not. But here in Africa, anything is possible.
Women must make strides in Africa in order for Africa to succeed. The continent is overwhelmingly populated with women, and there are several reasons for that. Several of the countries have been in wars for decades. A lot of men have died off as a result of HIV/AIDS. It is imperative that women be given the opportunity. They have the desire, they have the instinct, they have the intuitiveness to do business and succeed in business on this continent.
We're making a film called, it's a feature film, an American feature film. It's called The Breed. It's a Wes Craven production. It's about dogs, vicious, intelligent dogs that attack some kids on an island.
Hey.
That's the fake dog, guys. That's the fake one. The film industry in South Africa is very wide. I think that the thing right now is just overcoming the racial divide, because that skills transfer has to take place, and right now the white people are the ones who have most of those skills. So we just have to make sure that some of those are passed on to black folks. And it's very important for the industry, because in this country you always hear people saying, oh, there's not enough unit managers, there's not enough line producers, there's not enough this, that. And the thing is because they're only relying on 20% of the population to fill those jobs, Once you start training black folks, there's not gonna be a shortage of anybody. Jenny, are you ready to die?
So ready.
Okay. It would have been very difficult for me to accomplish the same degree of success in the States that I've been able to accomplish here in South Africa. And that's because my skin color was not a barrier. And in the States, it always is. Here, the fact that I was black actually helped me. And the fact that I had a really good resume when I got here was all that mattered, actually. So they looked at my resume and they said, wow, this girl has done something. Black filmmakers in the States should get in touch with filmmakers here. So if they have a project, they should think about coming and shooting it over here. Because we've got qualified crew, we've got equipment, and as you'll be able to see from walking around the country, it's beautiful here. It'd be really great if we could have more of a Black American and Black South African kind of skills exchange. I think the results would be fabulous.
I'm a gemologist and a diamond trader. They were not accustomed to seeing women in the diamond business. So the first thing they told me was, no, you're not a gemologist, it's impossible, you can't be a diamond trader. Diamond traders are Orthodox Jewish males. They are not Black African American females. I sing in a number of languages, including Hebrew and Yiddish. And the facility with the music, Hebrew and Yiddish music, has actually helped me gain entry into the business. In the U.S. consumer market, 25 to 35% of the consumers are from the African American community. Black people love gold. We also have an affinity for Africa and anything that is African in style, African in design. And yet, in any major city in the U.S., there is not a place that you can go to buy African jewelry made of precious metals and gemstones. I saw that as a niche, and that's the niche that I'm developing. So when I opened the jewelry shop, this shop is the prototype for a franchise chain. We're going to do a few more stores in South Africa, and then it's off to America. That gets me back to my family, you see. And it also gets the products of these new emerging jewelers and designers into the principal marketplace so that they can then become entrepreneurs and be self-sustaining with their talent and with the design sense that they learned from their ancestors.
I used to tell people I was from South Africa. Didn't know anything about it at that time, but I told people my parents were from Johannesburg. So I think it was meant to be. Hello, welcome to Lemurian Guest Lodge, located in Houghton, South Africa, which is probably one of the most famous neighborhoods in South Africa because of our very famous neighbor, Nelson Mandela, who lives only 2 blocks from here. Houghton was founded over 100 years ago by the Jews who were in the gold and diamond business. When they just put in all the gold mines, the gold bearers moved right outside the city and they moved into Houghton, and that's where all these big mansions were built. The average stand or lot in Houghton is 1 acre. Some are larger, and the average house is maybe 10,000 square feet. There are absolutely no blacks in Houghton, but Houghton was a Jewish area. This house was built in 1938, which is one of the newer houses in Houghton. I practiced law for 25 years, started very young. I had a very successful law practice, probably one of the most successful black lawyers in Chicago and probably in the States. I was easily pulling down $1 million a year, sometimes much more than that. And it was not hard for me to leave that life, give it up to move to Africa. And people thought I was nuts closing down a law practice like that. My plan was always to practice law until my kids got grown. And once they got grown, I had planned on stopping. And I always wanted to live in Africa. And I've been to like 27 countries in Africa. And South Africa is the first country I've been to that I really felt comfortable in and really felt I could live here. We lived 2 blocks away, and we had Lemurian Guest House then. And we bought that place in '99. Then we decided that we wanted to do something different. So we sold that place, and we came here and looked at this place. And I looked around and decided it would fit what we wanted to do. Of course, my husband looked at it and panicked. He just couldn't think of anything this place could be done because it was a wreck. It really was in bad condition. And I decided, oh no, we can do it. Now we started out, we're going to do it right. We started out, we were going to hire an architect, hire a contractor. And everybody had these issues. You know, the architect needed, get plans through City Hall. I don't know if this is through City Hall, and that could take a year. And I said, oh no, we can't wait a year to get plans through City Hall. So I said, that's okay. I'll be my own architect, I'll design it. Now this was once an indoor swimming pool. We were getting a lot of calls for meetings and conferences, and we thought we'd get better use out of this room as a conference room. So now we're converting it to an indoor conference room. We have filled the pool and we've put the floor in. Now once the floor is in, we're going to put in underfloor heating, then we're going to tile the entire conference room. And once we put in the chandeliers and the draperies and more windows, then it will be a very beautiful conference room. And it's already booked. It stays booked, so we've already got 4 bookings for the conference room. This project took us about 5 months to do. So in 5 months, we put in 10 cottages and redid the house. So that means that I had to have crews going on all over the place. I may have had 10 crews working at one time. At first I had a lot of problems because these people were not accustomed to working with women and having women tell them what to do, nor could they believe I knew what I was talking about. So I had to really crack the whip on these guys to get them to do what I wanted to do. But after a while, when they saw how things were going, then they got very cooperative. Now I have no problem at all. When I tell them to do something, they do it because they know it's going to come out right, that maybe this woman really does know what she's talking about. One of the things that sold me on this place was the beautiful trees on this property. And Houghton is one of the most beautiful neighborhoods in Johannesburg because of the trees. And one of the things that people may not know is each tree was planted. None of these trees are indigenous. They were all brought here. So it's probably like the largest garden in the world. If this was in Chicago, you're looking at $3 to $4 million at least. Well, if you come in 99, you could have bought this house for $200,000. Now the price is probably doubled, but it's still way under what you would buy in America. Because remember, we're in probably one of the top neighborhoods in South Africa. We're on an acre of land. We have swimming pool and tennis courts, and all the bedrooms got bathrooms, and bathrooms are in marble and granite in the kitchen. So you talk about top finishing. Well, a comparable house in the U.S. I wouldn't be living in. I can say that. I couldn't afford it. I stay in South Africa because South Africa is home. I feel more comfortable in South Africa than I ever have in the U.S. And so the people are very receptive, very warm. I mean, you are a person here. You know, you don't have to apologize for being black like you do in America. You're at home in South Africa. So other than my children who's still in the U.S., you know, there's nothing in the U.S. I miss.
We're going into Soweto, and what you're going to see today is what most tourists don't see. We're actually going to see young people. Most of them are orphan or vulnerable because of the HIV/AIDS pandemic. It is a Saturday morning, and the kids will be there working hard on their academics and life skills so that they can move out of the cycle of poverty. This road divides the colored township from the African township, the Soweto. This is a colored township here, and a lot of the Africans have moved over to this side, but you won't see the colored people moving to the Soweto side. Psychology of oppression and apartheid classified people into different categories, and some colored still feel that they're better than blacks. And now they're upset because with a black government, they feel that they're still not getting their fair share of the pie. Soweto stands for Southwestern Townships, and there are about 4 to 5 million people living here. We're going into Dube, which is one of the older townships of Soweto, where a lot of the prominent figures from the struggle movement lived, like Mandela and Sisulu. When you look at the demographics of Soweto, you're talking about people who are extremely poor. Average household income is about 1,000 rands a month. Traffic in Soweto on a Saturday morning is very, very busy because you have lots of funerals. Number one reason is the HIV/AIDS pandemic. Lots of young people are dying, mothers and fathers. And as they die, they're leaving children behind, and no one's looking after the children. They say by 2010, there'll be 3 million orphans in South Africa, and I think the number is going to be much higher. If somebody told me 6 months before I was going to move to South Africa and live there, I'd tell them they were crazy. I was living in Washington, D.C., had a very comfortable job. In '93, delegations from South Africa came over to talk to people to see how we Americans did things as they were preparing for their new democracy. And because of the job I had in the mayor's office, I met with them and facilitated them getting answers to the questions they raised. And they kept insisting I should come to South Africa. I worked in the 4 poorest provinces in the country where schools didn't have classrooms. They taught under trees. And kids who were a little older, high school age level, were basically persuaded to not continue with education, but get a job to help feed the family. Coming to Soweto and looking at the poverty, it was easy to come here. The need was here. I felt that the kids who lived in shacks and back rooms were the ones who needed the most help. I saw this cycle of poverty continuing. So after 5 years of working in the country, I wanted to just help one learner, one student. So when I did the budget and found out how much it cost to educate a high school kid in the township, I looked at my budget and my finances and decided I was going to help 5 kids out of my own pocket. The number quickly grew to 17 because I made a commitment to these kids. And because for the first time they started to trust somebody, to open up to somebody, I couldn't abandon them and reject them, so I dug deeper in my own pockets I almost lost my house a couple of times because I would rather pay for school shoes and textbooks and school trips rather than pay my mortgage.
I need school shoes.
You need school shoes? What size?
Size 5.
Size 5?
Most people from the community, from Soweto, who can help us, they don't have time for us. He taught me something in life, that you need to love, you need to help. Can't only help by money, but give time to people as he has done to me. I never knew my father, but he became a father to me. I never had somebody that I can trust, that I can talk to, but he came and I was able to talk to him, you know. He showed me love, which is something that I never experienced before. And for that, I think I'll always be thankful.
Glorify your name. We glorify your name. We glorify your name.
I never knew my mother because she passed away while I was probably 5 years. Last year I just lost my father, he passed away, so I'm staying alone. I had quite a low self-esteem, but then when I came into the program in the trust, I learned about how to be proactive, I learned about how to be assertive. Therefore, those things help me even today to stand for myself, to know what I have to say, not to have fear when I'm talking to anyone. Anyway, to actually have that confidence within me.
Dapper, you guys walk them home. I want to see you moving. Move. Huh? Yeah. Walk the girls home. I pay taxi drivers to transport the kids to and from school. When I'm here on Saturdays, I personally drive the girls home. And the reason why I do that is because I don't want to have to get a phone call that they've been raped. The value of life for girls and women are not respected by some of the boys and the men in the community. And to be proactive, rather than have any girl harmed, try to make a way to make sure they get home safely. June 16, 1976, students were told they had to be taught all of their subjects in Afrikaans. And the students basically said no, they wanted to protest, they came into the streets, they left all the various schools around Soweto. The first kid to be shot by the police, it happened right here, Hector Peterson. And there's a picture that was shown all over the world the following day of this kid dead being carried by a bigger kid. Mandela in '92 had the tombstone erected with the ANC Youth League to pay honor and tribute to the struggle and the young people who gave their lives for democracy, for freedom. Phew. I get very hurt. I get very sad. And I get frustrated because these people who died and those who survived are in their 40s and are neglecting the least of the flock, the children who are being orphaned and vulnerable because of HIV/AIDS. I got a wonderful job offer to go back to the States, Washington, D.C., but I thought about these kids and all the things that I've said to them. And if I left, what would happen to them? So that was another way of God telling me I'm stuck here. And I don't mind it at all because I love each and every one of them.
There's no glass ceiling here. When an African American comes to Africa, they can no longer hide behind their color because everyone almost is the same color that they are. They must now reach inside their inner self and pull out the best in themselves.
You want to say hi? Say hello? Say bye-bye.
Imagine affirmative action
with teeth. And imagine affirmative action with the government backing it wholeheartedly and being at the top of the agenda versus, okay, here's a set aside. It's not a set aside, it's a mandated transformation of the economy, and that's what's going on here. So there are more black people who are sharing in wealth creation opportunities so that the deployment of wealth, of capital, is spread throughout the society in many facets.
Just South African.
Yes. I come from a pretty fast-paced environment in the form of New York City, and I worked on Wall Street for about 4 years. In Wall Street, the kind of approach is, listen, do this now, and if you're not going to do it, we have 200 people waiting in line to do it. In South Africa, it's a bit different. An employee's rights are much more protected than in the United States. So you have to adjust to that. You have to become a better person to be effective, to manage well. We've been up and running for about it'll be 4 years come this June. At this point in time, we'll be managing, or are managing, over R1 billion, which I think is a significant feat for a young company. It amounts to about $160, $170 million, and again, in South African terms, it's a significant amount. This is Cora Fernandez, who is working in the private equity side of the business, and Yolanda Nklapo, also in private equity, part of the team, and Renee Scudder, also in private equity. So, as you can see, there's a gender preference team of private equity professionals here. Wasn't by design, but it's worked out, and it's worked out very well. I'm 41 years old, and I've been living in South Africa now for going on 10 years. And during my lifetime, the two happiest moments of my life I experienced in South Africa. The first one was the day I got married, and then the one that superseded that was the day that we had our child born. So it's interesting when you look at your life and you say, well, I'm an American, I've been lived most of my life in America, born and raised, that you relate the happiest moments of your life in another country.
The hospitals and even the primary care and clinics in South Africa are some of the best, I believe, that are available in the world. There are roughly 44 million people in South Africa, and there are roughly 7 million families that have private insurance in South Africa. So you can see that the proportion is slightly below 20% of the population that's currently with private insurance coverage. Our company is a managed healthcare company. We are the company that is called when a patient is to be admitted into the hospital for an elective surgery. Our nursing staff and medical advisors determine whether the admission is necessary and appropriate. As my wife would say, when we visited South Africa, we saw there was an enormous opportunity to do something great here, something that would be very difficult to accomplish in the States. We could actually build the infrastructure from the ground up here, which is something that we never tried in the States. I'm a capitalist. I'm truly here for the purpose of making a good business. On the other hand, we want to do some good at the same time. And I think that's a realistic approach. And I think anybody that comes here for, in business, for any other reason, one would have to question what they're here for. I think that it's probably more difficult to capitalize your business here than particularly if you are not South African. If we were South African and black South Africans, we would have many more venues available for us to capitalize our company. You'll probably find that most black Americans that do business over here violated that very basic adage that we're always trained in Business 101, and that is never invest your own money. They've all invested their own money over here. And the advantage to us has been that our money is worth 6 times more than the rand, and it allows us to do more with it if you have dollars available.
It won't be feasible for us to actually go from South Africa to New York, then to London and then to Nigeria. So what we're doing is we take our traffic straight from SA into London. They also terminate at London, goes into the cloud here. And this is the shortest route that we took.
We are the fastest growing satellite company in Africa. We've only been operating a year, and today we are the market leader in many of the markets that we're operating in.
Already our plans were aggressive, but quite frankly, we did not envisage that the company would grow as quickly as it did. We have just finished our first year of commercial operations, and in that first year we took 40% of the market.
The ability to access capital in the U.S. I think is more difficult for someone of color. We set out to build the largest broadband communications network on the continent. People would have laughed at us if we walked into investors and said we wanted to build the largest business in the States in any particular sector.
When we started Africa Venture Partners, it was the private capital of Eric and myself that we invested in the company. And at those days, it was kind of Eric, myself, and the dog.
Today, we're about 100 strong. We're the largest African-American owned business in Africa, and we're continuing to expand our footprint around the continent, operating today in all of West Africa and South Africa, soon to be in East Africa, and with an office in the U.S. as well.
When Eric and I were setting up this company, we did not conceive that we would be doing a venture with Richard Branson's Virgin Group. We didn't think that we would be linked up with the largest satellite operator in the world. We didn't think that we would be on the back end of a $1 billion transaction, and these are things that just didn't come to our mind.
One of the goals we have for Africa Venture Partners is to create a $1 billion entity, employing a few thousand people to add to the workforce, to create something that we can walk away from and show to the rest of the world that African Americans were able to come to South Africa to build a Pan-African business that's a $1 billion company that has been listed or IPO'd in the New York or London Stock Exchange.
When we started the company, we really had very limited branding, if you like, around AVP. We thought of the name, we put the brand together. Now I think that AVP stands for the commitment to the community. It stands for tenacity. It stands for a willingness to commit itself to development in the African environment. Lifestyle you can replicate in other parts of the world. It may cost you more, it may cost you less. But for me, fundamentally, it really gets down to a hook of knowing that what you're doing really, not in a conversation with your buddies, but it really, really makes a difference. That you can look back and say that you've built something that touched people's lives. The lifestyle ain't bad, but it's not the hook. Not the hook.
I have been traveling to Africa for almost 30 years. And I've been to 20 plus African countries. And it was clear that the ability to participate on the African continent was not something you could do on remote. After not being able to launch my World African Network in the United States, I decided that there was a greater opportunity potentially on the continent of Africa. So I decided to sell off all my assets, my cable television activity in New York and my radio stations, and bring my capital here. First of all, I'm probably the largest African American investor. I've got over $30 million invested in South Africa.
We've got routing and switching, design, networking and security, service provider, storage and networking, and voice.
When one comes to a new environment, one assesses the areas of potential opportunity. And certainly IT is a specialty area that we know very well. This Cisco training operation is number 2 in South Africa, and we train the top corporations' technical people on how best to manage their data functions and information flow.
Well, Eugene has always been a Pan-Africanist, somebody who always wanted to return to our roots. And Africa is a wonderful and exciting place for Black people, African Americans.
You satisfied that it reflects everything we talked about?
Yeah, I went through it again. Each side has a guaranteed minimum. We've had our ups and we've definitely had our downs. But I think that the opportunities that Eugene has brought forward to me has made me not only want to stay, but to continue the legacy that he started for our family.
We're going toward our farm operation and our dairy operation, which is located in the eastern part of Pretoria, the highest growth zone in Pretoria. And we own 340 hectares here with partners. That's about 700 acres. And on that farm we have a lake and about 250 dairy cows. And one day it'll be a major estate development which will have people owning very large homes on an acre plot. Umoja Village, what I call it. Well, Umoja is a Swahili name meaning unity. And I've always felt that if African people worldwide could come together in unity, they could increase their overall well-being. So it's a very important message for me to send to my children and to all the people that I know. So I used to milk cows in Oklahoma when I was a little child, so that's how I never got the dirt off from under my fingers, so that's how I got involved in that. This is the, if you will, the maternity ward where all the newborn calves stay the first 3 months of their lives. You see they're elevated, and we keep them very clean, and they get their mother's milk, fed that every day, plus some additional nutriments so they can grow up to be great ladies who can produce great milk. The men, I hate to say it, but we end up making hamburger out of them, most of them. When I first bought this place, I didn't buy it for the dairy. It's very close to the city, and the dairy facilities were already here, and I just decided to turn the facilities back up and create jobs for the local people. So I've been in the dairy business for the last 7 years, and now the city has moved toward us, so this one day will be a major estate development. We're expecting to put about 250 high-end homes on the property, and that's the reason why we bought it. That's the home I'm building. That was using as my homestead here in the capital of South Africa. We're about 6 months, 8 months away from completing it. It'll be able to house 8 bedrooms and lots of our friends who come from the States, which we are trying to convince to come over here and live. The overall interior space is about 30,000 square feet. Much of our property development emphasis has been our greatest appreciation of value. Hello, how are you? Good to see Garth and Rob Bray. This is very much like Laguna Beach in terms of California. We are developing a huge mixed-use project along the ocean front near Durban in South Africa at around 500 million rand, which is close to $100 million, and it's something I would never have thought about doing in the United States because land access is a very difficult thing in the United States. Here, it's a new frontier. The opportunities are almost unlimited in almost every category because Africans are just now getting involved in much of the significant industries in South Africa. We often talk about the United States, you know, the man this. Well, over here, you're the man, and you're the woman, and that's a key major shackle that lifts from the soul of the African-American experience, that you no longer have to look to another race as being over you. You are indeed the one in charge, and that's really turns the responsibility, adds new energy. I have another 30 years, 40 years to work, and I'm going to work every moment. I will die with my boots on. I'll be doing another deal on my way out. So this is a fantastic environment. African Americans were
really challenged when they came here. We found that the divorce rate amongst African American couples went up significantly. The tensions in business between African Americans and Africans were heightened, probably as a result of clashes between the cultures about how you do business.
But Africa's season has come. And it's time for people to nurture Africa, nurture African people, nurture African times, such that Africa one day will protect our identity, and when that happens, Africa will carry us.
When the first wave of African Americans came through South Africa shortly after the elections, there was a number of negative perceptions in the way those African Americans did business, in the way of their perceived arrogance, or actual arrogance, if you want to say it, that left a bad taste overwhelmingly in many South Africans' eyes. One of the things our church has been very successful in doing is dismantling that negative perception on both sides.
You looking good, baby. You got that African on today. I didn't recognize you. I didn't know you was African.
South Africans have only been in charge of their destiny for the last 10 years, so there's a lot of, not hostility, but a lot of fear there, a lot of fear, and a lot of suspicion. You know, a lot of suspicion. They need to know what you're about. You know, why do you want to come here? And you can understand that. You coming from the land of milk and honey to this land, which is, you know, from a lot of people viewpoints, depressed.
I'll be honest with you, I've seen brothers and sisters come down here with bad attitudes, and they went home with bad attitudes. There are people who have come with positive attitudes, trying to do the right thing, and for a number of reasons, it just didn't work out. And it's not because Black South Africans didn't embrace me. Nah, it's not about that. You know, things work out sometimes, and sometimes they don't.
When I first got here, I didn't take time to understand the culture or the people. I was just here because I was like, I'm gonna make it, you know what I mean? So my only thought was me and me making it. And I didn't take other people into consideration. So through that, you know, I got a little spanked here and there. I recovered, came back with a different appeal, a different zest for it, with more respect. In the US, you're taught to look a guy in the eye, stand tall, shake his hand firm, walk around with self-confidence, put your chest out, stand up, you know. And here, the entire culture was the exact opposite of that. Here you were taught, don't look a person in the eye, don't hold a firm handshake, don't stand up too tall, don't be too sure of yourself, because that was perceived as what they call cheeky or arrogant.
We need to address this question of xenophobia in South Africa, and in particular, xenophobia against African Americans. You find that our communities are better able to welcome people who come from Europe, white folks. And part of the miseducation, I think, that's going on is that they see those folks bringing money. A lot of folks from Europe contribute to the community development programs. So if you like, there is a colonial mentality that is going on there. There is somewhat of a master and servant relationship.
Coming over with a major multinational, there were all kinds of doors open because of the company. They weren't necessarily open to Clara, okay? And now that I'm here and convinced my husband to join me, I find that whether it's xenophobia or whatever it is, sometimes it's very difficult as an individual to find your place in South Africa. So I just don't want to leave the impression that you can get on a plane and come here, put a stake in the ground, and everything's going to be okay.
When there's a new country, there are often people who have the carpetbagger syndrome, from both sides. And so lots of people came down here from the States making promises in '94 that they would be able to do this and this and this. And they had no capability at home, and they had even less capability here. So it created a potential reaction by some of the South Africans that African Americans sometimes come and make promises their bodies can't keep.
We're perceived as the blacks who are coming home, and Africans, by and large, will say that this is not our home. They say that America is our home, this is not our home, and they particularly don't care for it when Americans come over here and say, hey, I'm glad to be home. It's great to be home. They kind of like shun upon those type of comments because they feel like our home is USA.
If you come here, adjust your attitude towards more of a learning one rather than I'm coming here and, you know, I have this and I'm coming to give to the natives, you know, which is what I find sometimes.
I would just caution people to don't come and make overpromise, and don't do anything but be yourself and attempt to do what it is you do best. As long as one stays within their sphere of capability and does the things in a proper way within a level of integrity and honesty, they'll find that after a period of time, you'll find that South Africans will accept you. All those tough stories about how bad things are, I don't believe them. It's pretty nice over here.
The food in Africa is the best I've ever had anywhere in the world.
If you want to go out for a drink, if you want to dance, you want to party, all those opportunities are available here. The women are beautiful.
As a single person, I think there's no secret that they're very beautiful South African women from all areas of the country.
The quality of life here is very high. You've probably seen some of the homes that people live in here. They're nice, aren't they?
My name is Samantha West. I'm Darrell's wife. Darrell and I have been living here for the past 4 years. We bought this home when it was very old and dilapidated, and we basically took it and basically refurbished this whole home and completely gutted it. What we did is that we added the 2 beams on the side, 2 columns on the side to give it a very classical feeling. We hired the beams to allow more light to come into the house, and that is exactly what we've done in every room. I'd like now to take you into my second favourite room in the house, is our kitchen. Darrell and I spend a lot of our time in our kitchen. We entertain here, so we wanted a kitchen that was very warmly huge, where our kids could play around in. It was this kitchen originally was very narrow. Only 2 people could basically fit in this kitchen. We extended it by at least 4 to 5 meters. We added new cupboards, new walls, new windows, and this kitchen cost us about 70,000 Rand, which if you think you have to convert it, would be about $8,000.
Let me show you the boys' part of the house now. This is our bar. We use it quite a bit for entertaining, having dinner parties or guests over. We invariably find a way to congregate to the bar. This part of the house used to be closed in, like much of the other areas of the house. There's a wall here, and we opened it up again, put columns. As you see, columns are a feature in the house. There are columns all over the place, and we find that it helps to break up the rooms, yet it also gives you an open plan of spaciousness. Okay, let me show you the rest of the house, the outdoors. This is our patio, which we do a lot of entertaining here. We have our barbecues, or braais as we refer to it in South Africa. We purchased this in 1999 for the Rand equivalent amount of about $110,000. And we did renovations that ran to about another $120,000 or so. So all in all, we'll be looking at $230,000 or so for the entire house as it is now.
My name is Charles Henderson. Welcome to South Africa. Let me take you through my home real quick before we get the day started. You notice we got a little bit of a color scheme here, the orange and the purple in the garage. I don't know how many of you have seen a purple garage, but yes, we do have one. As we come in the front, the first color you're gonna notice is purple. One of my favorite colors, and many of you may know, purple is the color for royalty in Africa. I grew up in the projects, so I figure if I'm gonna live in Africa, I ain't gonna live in the projects. That's where I'm coming from. So So yeah, I got me a nice house, man. When my mom's come to visit, she think I'm rich. She think I'm living large. It's like, yo, MTV cribs up in the house. This is the dining room. 2 pieces of art here, actually Zulu shields, which I bought from a Zulu chief in Zululand. All this furniture was made, African furniture, made by an African brother from Ghana. This is my sanctuary, if you will. Did a lot of renovation in here. This was a window, opened it up to a sliding door, put a little patio so I could come out to the garden. You know, put a few roses, a few flowers, a few, you know, indigenous African bushes. The theme is to kind of have it nice and rich and thick with bush. You know, I kind of felt like I wanted a jungle. I've been all over Africa, haven't seen a jungle since I got here, so I decided to make my own jungle. The bathroom, you know, we got the double basin, although, you know, the double is for visitors. I'm still single. So yo, anybody out there, you know, want to get with a brother, you know, I'm looking. This is my bath. Decided to put the bath under the stars as well. I like that outdoor feel. So everything opens up, man. You put the bushes around so you don't need curtains. So, you know, I get up, I want to take a bath. It's nice and relaxed, you know. Again, I like hearing the birds sing. Fireplace, so in the winter, gets a little chilly out. Turn the gas fireplace on. Candles all over, I love candles. I like to do the romantic thing.
Hello, my name is Barbara Holland. I'm Jarman Holland's wife. Welcome to our home.
Oh, it's a very comfortable lifestyle, you know. Like when we first got here, Jarman said, you know, well, I found us a house and it has a live-in maid. I said, a live-in maid? I never had a live-in maid, you know, before, you know. But they actually build houses here with live-in facilities. Every house is built with a live-in facility, which is something that isn't done in the States.
Now, here in the living room, I designed all the furniture that went into this living room. And one of the special points of interest is this painting. It's by Helen Sabiti, which was declared a national treasure by Nelson Mandela when he was president. In fact, Mandela saw this picture and wanted it, but we refused to part with it, you know, because we considered it one of our treasures too.
Well, we lived in several areas before coming to this area. We like the area. It's very green. The homes are large and expansive.
Yeah, the living room flows into the dining room. And if you want privacy, we have these sliding doors that can give you all the privacy that you need. We come into the dining room. This table seats about 10. We liked it because it was, you know, plain, simple, elegant, but yet modern.
The views on top of the hill are fantastic. They look over all of downtown Johannesburg and into North Cliff and into West Cliff. I like living here, you know, because it reminds me very much of California. The topography of the land reminds me very much of Northern California. So it's very comfortable and it's very easy to get around.
Well, we've come a long way from the States, but we hope you enjoyed the tour, and thank you for visiting with us.
Sabona, welcome. That means welcome in Zulu. Let me show you my home. We're in the most favorite part of the house where we all get a chance to gather with family and play. This is, of course, is our largest pool. We have 3 pools in the home. And this is a lap pool on the side and, of course, a play area for the kids. One of the great things about living in Durban is that you can live inside and outside all year long. We can look all the way through. It's all the way through. It's open on the outside over here. And indeed, on this side, we are able to open this side up and capture the essence of living indoors and outside at the same time. And one of the great things about living in this part of Durban is that we're up on the hills, like in Sausalito or high up in Beverly Hills. We have our hills. The mural up there has a helicopter in it. The previous owner owned a helicopter on the heliport on top of the house. But this is my pride and joy. It took about 1.5 years to make this staircase out of pewter. In Africa, we live in harmony with, of course, the big five, the elephant, the lion, and those big creatures. And as you can see, we captured part of their reality in our bedroom, noting the essence of the elephant on our bedspread, and of course, a mosquito net. We live outside all the time, and sometimes the mosquitoes come join us. This particular home has a squash court in the entertainment area. I'm about to convert this to a major theater for all my friends, since very few of us play squash. This is Zulu country. This is where King Shaka built his kingdom, right around this area. So we are very proud to have a chance to, if you will, complement it with a beautiful home.
Don't come to South Africa expecting someone to give you something. It's very difficult to get a job here if you're an African American. It's very difficult. It's not difficult to set up a business. Now you can get all the help you want in setting up a business, but you don't plan on coming here to get the money to set up the business. You can better plan on bringing the money to set up your business. But if you got any kind of skills, if you got a plan, if you got some kind of money, come here and set up a business. Africa or South Africa is a wonderful place to be. I mean, it is. Everybody I know who started business here are doing very, very well.
But my advice to any brother or sister who was looking to come to South Africa, my advice would be to first do your homework. You know, read up a little bit on South African history, get familiar a little bit with the culture. Use the network that we have here, because we welcome brothers and sisters from the States. Welcome brothers and sisters from the States to come down. We welcome y'all. Come on down. Come and see what it's all about. Take a vacation and come and experience it.
Whites have controlled the economy for a very long time, but this government is very serious about transformation. This will be not only a black-controlled country from a political standpoint, but I would say within the next 10, 15, 20 years, it will be a black-controlled country from an economic standpoint. And yes, at the moment we still feel some level of racism in certain sectors of the economy, but that's all going to change, because this government has required every sector of the economy to sign a charter that it will begin to Africanize and transform its ownership and management and control to Africans. What that says is that we are seeing a tremendous change in terms of what's possible in South Africa that would never be possible in the United States in terms of control and development. So this economy will be owned by, a majority owned by Africans in the next 10 years, and that includes African Americans.
If you're coming over here to make money real fast, do some quick business, or do a couple of scams, it's gonna come back to bite you. And this is the hustle capital. So if you come in here trying a little shady business, people gonna see straight through that. You know, you're talking about a continent full of brothers. You think that you can pull some new game on anybody here? I think not. You know, all of it's been done before, and if they see that, you're washed up.
One of the other things that I think is very, very important to come, if you come to South Africa and want to be successful in business here or in life here, you have to embrace the culture. And this again goes to the ugly American. The ugly American is considered ugly because they want everything and expect everything to work exactly the way it works in America. So they go to another country, and because it's different than what we know, then something is wrong with it. And people can smell that across the room, and it's very, very much a turnoff in this culture. You must embrace the culture and understand that in this culture, you're ignorant. When you come here, you know absolutely nothing, and you're not going to change a country to meet your specifications. You are going to have to change to meet its.